Show here in Shanghai for rounds 11 and 12 with the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. I'm Saunders CB. I'm joined by Alexa. We've got all the insight, all the analysis, all the driver reactions and everything coming up very, very soon. But Alexa, should we get these two special guests we've got to side of us in here?
Who they could be.
Let's get the man who loves a second race of a double header, Antonio Felix da Costa, and the man who gets his first Formula E podium, Jake Hughes. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
You can call me the Sunday driver.
The Sunday driver. That usually means someone that's slow, and that's the opposite of what you were today.
You know, I'm starting to get into like classic cars and only drive them on Sundays, so
Okay.
I don't know if that helps too.
Let's talk about that race, because I had my concerns about the attack mode strategy with you personally.
Me too.
But it worked out pretty well at the end. Talk
Yeah,
us through it.
yeah. Well, I thought we waited a bit too long, to be honest. And I could see like these guys. The only thing that kept me calm is I could see Norman and Jake were pushing hard, and if I stay out of trouble, I knew I would have a small edge on them later on in the race on energy. And in the end, it worked out. But yeah, I would have wanted to go a little bit earlier, to be honest, on the first one.
And Jake, obviously you started from pole position today, kind of dropped back off the start with Stoffel, and then did the strategy play out from there how you expected it to?
Yeah, pretty much. I suppose the only thing was actually I was surprised they took so long to take their attack modes. I thought you would have gone straight away, to be honest. So I don't know if that's rubbing it in a bit. No, I mean I didn't plan to have a bad start, set in second. I actually wanted to keep the lead, so that wasn't great. And then yeah, I tried to be a bit more aggressive today. In all honesty, I was just saying to Antonio.
He was.
I was trying to say
But
to
fair, but fair.
Yeah, I've been in these pack races, I think, on the bad side of it quite a bit, and I think I tried to switch it up a bit today and probably do what a lot of the guys do, and it seemed to work.
Well, I was wondering, because we spoke on the grid and you said I'm going to need to get my elbows out, and I was like, oh yeah, there's a lot of drivers that say that, but it's one thing saying it and doing it in these sorts of races. But you did an exceptional job. I wonder if that loss of the lead at the start is actually the reason why you're standing here.
I don't think I could definitely say that. Like I said, I definitely would have wanted to keep the lead. Probably would have made my first attack mode a bit easier. Although actually, I think I was the first one to maybe take the first attack. Even Stoffel, I think, didn't take it when he could have done.
Norman went before
Maybe.
you.
I don't think Stoffel went on the first lap of opportunity, but we basically did. I don't know. I mean, I'm happy with my race, how it panned out. I think there's one or two occasions where I think we didn't probably make it as easy for ourselves, but overall it was a very good race.
Jake, we're going to have to let you go in a second, but I just want to know, your first podium in Formula E, your dad's here to see it, you were so passionate with the team, you must be absolutely delighted.
Yeah, I was saying earlier that when my girlfriend's come over, even if the result hasn't, but the pace and everything else has been good, and my dad's come this weekend, it's been the same thing, so anyone from the family can come whenever they want. It's quite nice, actually. I mean, I saw him filming me on the podium, like, you know, a proud dad, like, you know, videos that are 10 minutes long, you know, unedited. And I just went to see him now.
Probably on Facebook by now.
Yeah, absolutely, Facebook Live or something. But he looked like he'd had a tear or something like that, so he's a proud dad.
That's amazing. Well, huge congratulations to you. We'll let you go. If you just hand your mic over there. And Antonio, similar sentiment for you, because, you know, we spoke in Berlin, you know, how much that win meant to you. And now coming off the back of yesterday, another penalty, another kind of disappointing, losing out the points again. To come back stronger again today and win it again, you're made of different minerals, I swear.
I don't know, man. Yeah, don't test me, I guess. Don't push me. No, not at all. I think, you know, I've been in stages of my life where I'm doing everything right and I'm focused and I'm training and I'm healthy and nothing works, nothing comes out. And in those moments you gotta keep going. Like it's not an option to throw the towel. And then some other times, you know, things just seem to come your way. And I said in São Paulo after the first 3 tough races we had that, okay, it's time to start building momentum, but slowly, you know. And I think we've done that. A few P6s, a few P5s. Yeah. Smelling on some podiums, and then finally, you know, got a win in Misano, which we know what happened there, and then did it again in Berlin, and now to do it again here. I mean, we've got 3 wins on the road. I don't think anyone's done that this year, and yeah, super pleased with the momentum we've been able to create as a team. It's down to the credit goes to all the people that kept believing and kept, you know, didn't fully give up on me. And yeah, you know, I got a great group of guys in that team. The car is obviously so fast, so efficient, which helps my job in the races. So yeah, the package is there, and I'm happy to produce it.
I'm going to have to let you go in a second as well. You've got lots of debriefing to do with the team, but I am really keen to know, you seem to have mastered the art of this pack racing. Ooh. What is it, man? What is it? Can you get your elbows out better than everyone else?
I know.
Why are you still up here?
You can tell the story after I leave.
I know why.
I think
I actually
Sonder-
mentioned it on the grid.
You did.
I
You
did.
did. You did.
Okay, I'll let someone just tell it.
I think I got the first taste of what it felt like to lose a race because of a slipstream in season 5. So he'll tell you all about it. But anyway, I seem to understand them, but I think I'm not the only one. You know, there's a few guys out there. There's a trend of who are the people that are always at the front of these races. I'm happy to be one of them, but that's gonna keep changing because everyone's gonna get smarter. Everyone's gonna wanting to be on the same place at the same time, and that normally doesn't work. So we see a lot of guys having punctures, front wings going, and stuff like that. It's very, very easy to go everything working out well to then being in trouble. So
Just quickly before we go, very quickly. Yesterday we spoke about afterwards. It was about almost like a team game. Today it's about you. You've got the points. Now the gap's closing between you and Pascal. Does it kind of reset now? It's all about both of you fighting for a championship.
what do you mean? Am
As
I
in-
close to him?
No, well, as in you've bridged the gap slightly.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I did lose what I gained today. I lost yesterday, basically. So not really doesn't change much. I think he's still the one in a championship fight, and obviously, you know, it's not. You know, I was happy to have my elbows out for him yesterday, but today he wasn't there for me to protect. So I was kind of unleashed to go and do my own thing, and obviously that helps. But yeah, I think until the end of the year, we got 2 goals in the team for him to win the drivers and for me to help him do that and win the team's championship.
Thanks, Antonio.
Thank you,
Enjoy
guys.
the
Cheers.
celebrations.
Thank you so much.
We were getting the eyes then. I pushed my luck with that last question, didn't I, Alexa? Now, we'll just talk quickly about what he was talking about there.
Go on.
Because
what was that about?
essentially, this is very true. Season 5, he was on the wrong end of the slipstream argument, where somebody got the win on him. But where it matters is in season 6. This is why I called Da Costa the godfather of the slipstream when it comes to, because way before anyone else was even thinking about it, way before Gen 3, we're talking Gen 2, in Alexander Sims, his teammate,
Yes.
crept up behind him and was all about to make the move with them. The two of them came together and crashed in Marrakesh.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, how would Alex have so much more energy than me? It's because Alex was just sitting in his slipstream in the tow the whole time. So, a year later, in Antonio's championship winning year, he's on pole position. Max Günther's closing in behind him. He allows Max Günther to pass him, sits in the slipstream, builds up the energy surplus, takes him on one of the final laps, wins the race by 6 seconds.
Excuse me?
He started this before any of us were even thinking about it. And I remember at the time saying, like, how did you do that? And did you do that on purpose? And he said, I think I figured out a strategy and I think it's going to be big for Formula E. How right he was.
He might have been on something. Maybe.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
Now let's talk about what we've got coming up, because we are going to be talking about, of course, the other man on the podium, Norman Nato. We're going to be talking about everything else that happened, all the top lines of the story. John's going to be joining us as well.
He is.
But before that, I mean, are we going to get a chance to talk to Norman, or should we see what he had to say after the race? Great. Well, that's perfect. Alexa, should we see what Norman had to say after the race?
I think he had a few words for us.
A good podium for him and Andretti. Let's see what he had to say.
Norman, a tough race, challenging conditions, your first podium of the season. How was it for you?
Feels good. Much better than last night. Well, I felt like, so far this season, every time we try to do something, which looks correct to us, something like a small issue happened, and as I said, I said, guys, let's not give up because we have the pace. Every qualifying, we managed to have the package working, we managed to go to the duels and be in front. But honestly, so far, it's been a long time where I didn't have a season where nothing we wanted to come together, and it's not even pace-wise, honestly. And today, for some reason, we kind of didn't change anything. We just, again, tried and didn't give up, and it worked, so it's really good. Honestly, it feels good after all the hard work. New team for me, also fighting for the team championship. It's really good points.
Talking about your season, 14th in the standings coming into this, did you expect this? Did you think it was possible? Because it surprised many of us.
Well, no, every race weekend is possible. It's Formula E. Every season I did in Formula E, I did at least a podium or a win. So, I already proved what I'm able to do. And again, today, it was a really smart race as well from Antonio and Jake. We kind of work all together, which made our life also quite easier compared to when you are in the park and it's not really under control. It's not really your race. When today we had the pace, honestly, I didn't even try to fight Antonio at any point because he was just doing a really smart race. And on my side, as I said, step by step, I will make it. But it was really important, to recreate a good dynamic, a good spirit with everyone. And now we are arriving at the end of the season, so points are really important if we want to fight for top 3. It's starting from today, where Jake so far did really well, scoring points in some races where we didn't look the best. So yeah, I'm really pleased for today. It's my turn to score the points for the team. Unfortunately, Jake didn't manage to enter in the top 10 because of a difficult qualifying, but I mean, it's all the hard work of the team paid off on my side today.
Enjoy the celebrations, well done.
Yeah, we'll do, thank you.
There we go, heard from Norman Nato there. Very, very crucial points for Andretti today, considering Jake Dennis wasn't able to get any. John Jackson's joined us.
Hello.
Welcome, John.
How's it going?
It's important, right, that result for Andretti and Norman. Also one that feels like it should have come maybe a bit earlier, but finally is here.
Yeah, very much for Norman to see his teammate Jake Dennis. I know he's the reigning world champion, but to see him get the results and grind them out, and for him to not really feel like he's done anything wrong, but maybe just not be able to get those results, it's going to weigh on your mind. We've actually talked about this before with Antonio as well. You know, he had a start to the season that wasn't fruitful. It's now become fruitful. You can see the big smile on his face. It's never really gone away, but it's extra big now. And for Norman, I think he did need that result. You know, he's not been on the podium for, well, the whole of this season. It's his first podium for Andretti. So, yeah, huge for him. And, I mean, you know, if he's got a podium here in Shanghai, you'd think he's got a good chance of getting on the podium for the next couple of races as well.
I think that's really interesting what you said there about the emotion as well, because I was speaking to some of the comms team around him, and they said that basically they've seen him shedding a tear. This is a really, really important key moment for him, especially timing-wise when we start looking at the driver market, because particularly with Norman's career, you've got to look back over the last couple of seasons, the last couple of teams he's been with. When you look at the results and the results alone, he's always really struggled whenever he's joined a new team, to the point that he's ended up getting dropped after a season. He's still in his first year with Andretti, and Andretti have had a bit of a track record of dropping drivers quite quickly. Oliver Askew, Andre Lotterer, and as Roger Griffith said, it made such a difference to that other side of the garage from Jake Dennis to have the success with Norman today. He feels like they've broken a curse. For Norman's sake, I hope that's the case, and this will help him a lot in retaining that seat.
Yeah, and I imagine if you're Jake Dennis, it's also welcome news, because you now have a potential rear gunner when it comes to the championship that can be up there with you. The weird thing is that in Berlin, Jake Dennis was back with the pace. You know, he had the pole position, looked like things had turned around there, but Jake really struggled with pace this weekend. I actually asked him at the end of the race, I said, you know, what happened? How come you couldn't make it happen? And his words was I was slow as Christmas. I don't know what that means. But
Chris just told me yesterday he just doesn't like this track. His exact words on the radio, this track just doesn't suit my style. And sometimes I guess that happens.
Well, when he took me out in the Porsche Taycan, I didn't think it didn't suit him, I'll tell you that.
Is that a name drop or a brand drop? It's like all three in one go.
It's an experience drop.
A triple clang there from Saunders.
Drop, yeah.
You know what? It's a similar situation to the situation at Nissan. Oliver Rowland would really love his teammate Sasha Fenestraz to be his rear gunner, and it's not really happened yet. So actually, when you're looking at a championship fight, if Norman can start to get points, especially for Andretti in the teams championship, it's welcomed. And I think Sasha is one of those drivers that can probably see what Norman's done and think, you know what? I don't know how he's feeling, but he might be feeling a little bit down about things. He could be like, well, look, Norman's doing that. I've got a great car. Look what Oliver Rowland's doing. I can do it. So hopefully, you know, it impacts other drivers as well.
Well, talk about role reversal in terms of Norman and Jake. Let's talk about Nick De Vries. You know, but until this weekend, it's all been about the Eduardo Mortara show when it came to Mahindra and their kind of upward trajectory of performance. But here, Nick De Vries is with really good qualifying performance and actually doing pretty well to hold position in the race as well, despite having a powertrain that's deficient in energy, essentially.
Yeah, I spoke to him on our radio coverage on TalkSport, and he was saying that, you know, he got to the front of the race yesterday and he was leading the way, and his team immediately said, Nick, we want you to lose that lead because of the style of racing we're looking at here. And he found it a little bit tricky in his mind because racers, they want to be leading, they want to be winning. And he found that frustrating, but he did get his first points and obviously, you know, great qualifying today. And, you know, things are on the up. I think he's very realistic about the Mahindra car and the project that's going on there. He said he doesn't expect them to be regularly on the podium or anything like that anytime this season. But I think there's a sign of positivity, and you can kind of see it in his eye as well. That he's like, okay, things are moving forward, making progress.
Yeah.
You also mentioned Edo, and I think that's a really important thing, that Nick kind of has something to prove, not just with Edo though. Like, granted, he's been outperformed by him for most of the season, but also Nick De Vries didn't race in Berlin. He had a clash with another championship. Jordan King stepped in, and Jordan King matched Nick's best performance of the season in Berlin. If that's going to give you a little kick up the backside, I don't know what will, to see someone else doing particularly well in your seat. Suddenly, 1 week later, he comes back and puts on a season best performance. Maybe it's what he needed.
Very true. I think he could have done well today if it wasn't for that incident with Sam Burton. third. I think there could have been more points on the cards.
It's quite the pirouette though, wasn't it?
It was good, very stylish. Actually, I would have held up an 8 card, I think.
Sam
Not quite
Bird
10,
is
but there's
one of
room
the
for
most
improvement.
stylish drivers on the grid, though, isn't he?
Yes.
So what would you expect from him? And also, I know that it's not gone well for him this weekend, but he's over the moon because Man United won the FA Cup, and he wasn't expecting it at all. So, there is a little bit of a smile there for Sam Bird.
It's some form of success from the weekend for Sam Bird. Now, Alexa, I know you wanted to give some credit to the Envisions.
Yeah, I was thinking about Robin Friends today, starting from, correct me if I'm wrong, 20th today. He had an almighty climb up the grid. Now, I think he was a prediction for all of us when we thought it was going to rain. We thought master of the wet is Robin Friends. If it chucks it down again, as it did earlier on, he's almost a guarantee for a podium. Well, guarantee. He'll be up there. He's phenomenal at it. I didn't expect him to climb quite so high without the rain, and he did really impressively today. After a spin yesterday, it's a good comeback.
Essentially, he did the Cassidy strategy.
Yep.
They did all the energy saving at the start. They actually didn't mind being pretty far back, made a lot of moves up. And I spoke to him after the race, and he said, I was like, could you have even got more? Because I was looking at your energy, and both him and Seb, Seb climbed up quite a few places as well, were looking maybe a percent and a half ahead of other people with 5 or 6 laps to go. And I thought, we could see some more moving upwards here.
But that's also another similar situation. They didn't race last time in Berlin, and you see
Yeah.
Paul Arrell and Joel Eriksson come in and do pretty well as well. So I think we said actually in the preview show, didn't we, that Envision do need to get a result, and they maybe didn't get a result, but again, there's some positive signs.
I was surprised by Buemi though. There's a stat kicking around that he's only ever started 22nd, last on the grid, twice in his career before. Both times he scored points. Today he just still wasn't there, and I'm not sure what it is about that Envision package where things just aren't working for them. Jaguar, seemingly successful, they've mastered this peloton pack style of racing. I don't know if it's Envision's setup or what they need to fix.
I think I know what it is.
Go on.
It comes from Sylvain's mouth himself. I think it's running. They just literally have they've ran less miles than any other team on the grid. So less running is less data. So I think that there's a really strong argument to that. And I think, in terms of DNFs, they've had more DNFs this season than they've ever had as Envision or Virgin or whatever they were before. That this is not a good title retention year for them at all. But yeah, credit to Seb and Robin for the climbs. Robin mentioned that he thought more was on the cards, but as a few other drivers, including Jake Dennis, said, the race sort of backed up a little bit earlier than they all thought, and they did have the extra energy to use, but they couldn't use it because everyone was kind of really going at full pace then. Of course, guys, just a quick mention, this is a doubleheader weekend. We've talked a lot about round 12, but round 11 was very, very interesting. Before we chat about it, let's have a quick look at the highlights.
Welcome to Shanghai. It is round 11 of the 2024 ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. And the Shanghai E-Prix is underway. It's Verne that leads. It's all to play for. Getting a bit close for comfort.
We're in the proper race now, let's go.
Look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places. And contact.
What the is Jeff doing?
It's now or never to make the progress.
God damn it, the guy T-boned me.
They are definitely going to have their elbows out.
Verline goes across the grass and does take the lead away, but contact there with Evans.
Evans is told to attack.
There's no way he's going to let him pass.
It's carbon fibre being struck up. What's happening for the lead? Evans has taken over from Verline. He leads in the Jaguar. Cassidy can feel the victory slipping through his fingers. On the outside goes Nick Cassidy. Verline tries to defend. Side by side they go through the final corner. Mitch Evans is going to take the win in Shanghai.
Yes! Mega race.
Mitch Evans takes his second victory of the season.
Just a little bit spicy, that one, wasn't it? I mean, on the Scoville scale, that's high. That's high, John. Last lap especially.
I reckon 1 million Scovilles for that one. I think that's pretty high. I've definitely had hot sauce that was 1 million Scovilles. I just love that until that last corner, there was just action. There was contact. I love the frustration from Nick Cassidy.
Yeah.
Not for Nick. I know that, it's not a nice thing, a situation for him to be in, but didn't that add something to the mix as well with him being frustrated at not being told enough on his team radio? And yeah, we saw action right until the end of the race there. And I think it might have surprised you as well, because it surprised me just how far they just went to go for it in this race, because we were maybe expecting them to maybe wait a little bit longer, but it seems like it was a real fight for a lot longer than we would have predicted.
I agree. I mean, let's dive into that just a little bit more, the whole Jaguar story there, because how it unfolded in round 11 was interesting. You know, you had, just like a recap, you had Nick Cassidy really wanting to move past his teammate because he believed he had an opportunity to win the race. The team told him to sit behind. We talked about it earlier on the TalkSport preview show with you, John. It seemed like more was possible, and I understand Nick Cassidy's frustration, but I also understand James Barkley's decision.
Yeah, I heard James on broadcast earlier basically saying you have to take the position of a team principal here, right? When you're looking at it more holistically, it's not the easiest track in the world to overtake on. We saw it in London last year with the Envision messing up the position swap. You do not want to be risking an incredibly big points haul if you don't have to. Yeah. And frankly, they had a win. There was a potential for Pascal getting a podium, so there was a potential 1-2 on the cards. It's much better to play it safe. As a championship, team's championship perspective, I think it was the right decision.
You know what I think is interesting about that penalty is I think it was Jaguar that made the complaint. So I think they knew before we did on the broadcast that investigation against Pascal was going to happen. So if you are in that position, just like you said, Alexa, you're going to say, let's err on the side of caution and not potentially risk a double podium. Let's deal with a 1-3 that might turn into a 1-2, but if not, 1-3 is still pretty good.
But I think some of this does also have to rest on Nick, because we saw the same thing happen today. When I spoke to Nick after the race yesterday, I kind of asked him, was it the plan to finish with that much energy remaining? Obviously it's not. That's not how Formula E works. But the same thing did happen today. I kind of think if Nick saw the opportunity to overtake Mitch yesterday, he should have taken it. He should have gone for it, gone for the lead and done it safely, cleanly, begged for forgiveness later. Today, we saw him finishing with significantly more energy than the rest of the grid. I think he was still over 1% when he crossed the finish line. He wasn't particularly happy with 4th place, but if you're not happy with 4th place, use that energy you've got and take yourself further up the grid. Easier said than done, I know, but there is a question there about Jag's energy management throughout the duration of the race, and could something be done differently in those latter stages to make sure that Nick can use that energy and work his way up into the podium positions?
I just think the targets today were a bit more favourable for the drivers, so even if you did have more energy, it was hard to overtake, and that's why you saw people with 2, 3, maybe even 4 or 5% more energy sitting in that jungle and that kind of low mid pack, not really being able to go any further. Which is a shame, but that's the genius of these double headers where you change the laps between one race and the other. It does definitely change things, doesn't it, John?
Yeah, it really does, and I think Jaguar TCS Racing and the drivers have maybe made up, and it's all good now.
Yeah.
A little bit of tension there, I can totally understand it. But
you felt it.
Both these races I found really, really enjoyable, and there's been great moments all up and down the field, and the end of that race, as we've just seen there, was fantastic. And when it comes to the race today, I really enjoyed seeing some of the battles today. But for Jaguar, and as you say, for James Barkley, having lost the team's championship last year to your customer, it's a little bit embarrassing. I mean, it's great. It shows you the powertrain is great, but you still want to be winning as the manufacturer. And Jaguar obviously having a better season this year, but he's not going to risk anything. There's no need to risk it at all. And I guess when you've got 2 drivers that are championship level drivers, there's going to be tensions along the way, and actually I'm surprised we haven't had more tensions before now, because I think I predicted at the start of the season on our radio show that we're going to see these 2 great friends from New Zealand maybe have more head-to-head battles, and we haven't seen it yet, but we do have 4 races to go.
And I think it's coming, because just looking at the results from round 11 for Jaguar, a P1 and a P3, then in round 12 you've got a P4 and a P5. There's a solid haul of points there, and what that's mean is their gap in the team's championship has just grown a little bit. In the manufacturer's trophy, it's been looking healthy again, and in the drivers' championship, Nick Cassidy is still at the top, Pascal Wehrlein still second, but Mitch Evans is now third, having been 5th before, demoting Oliver Rowland, and then you've got Jake Dennis in 5th. So there's not a lot of points between 5th and 4th, a little bit between 4th and 3rd, and then from then it gets interesting. But Nick Cassidy, it's a decent little lead, and massively helped today by Pascal not doing too well. Yeah,
that's the thing, isn't it? I think yesterday you would have seen, with Jaguar getting 2 podiums, look at the teams around them, and if Antonia maybe hadn't won today, with Pascal not having the luck, then Porsche would have been a little bit upset about this weekend. But for us as viewers and fans of Formula E, it's great, because it means that the battle's going to continue to go on. I think maybe, Jaguar could have potentially wrapped things up in the team's championship, maybe next time at Portland, if it hadn't been for Antonia winning. So it adds drama. It's just what Formula E does. It always goes down to the wire, and I think it's going to do that again, especially in the Drivers' Championship, but also maybe in the team's championship.
I love that. Well, that in mind, before we get into fan questions, Alexa, predictions for the season.
Ooh.
We've got 2 double headers left, Portland and London. You just mentioned it there. You reckon Jaguar could have wrapped it up in Portland, but now it's not going to be so easy.
This is the figures off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure they could have been close if things
yeah,
had
oh,
gone
I
that
agree.
way,
I completely agree. But who's your money on now for the drivers and the teams?
I think for me it has to be Nick Cassidy. I felt a little moment today when Pascal Wehrlein, we saw him appear in the pit lane after getting a puncture because of contact with Sam Bird. Sometimes you see something in racing and you kind of think to yourself, why do I feel like that's going to be in the highlight reel at the end of the season of a key moment where possibly the championship was won or lost? Maybe I'm miles off, but that felt critical today. Having Pascal coming out of this race, scoring no points whilst his teammate did particularly well, and Jag came away with a very healthy points haul. I think it's theirs to lose.
It's like Rome, isn't it? Rome was that sort of pivotal, decisive race last season. John, who's your money on?
Last year we saw Pascal Wehrlein do really well and then drop off. I don't think he's going to allow that to happen this time, so I think he's going to be up there a lot longer, but, you know, I'm going to agree with you and say that I think Nick Cassidy's probably going to edge it this year. You know, he came close last year, he stepped up now to Jaguar TCS Racing, he's got such a good team around him, and the fact that he's, you know, constantly got a couple of % more energy in these races, he knows how to drive these cars, he knows how to drive in these races, I think he's going to edge it.
Excellent. Well, we'd like to know your predictions as well. Get them in the chat below. And with that in mind, some questions have come in.
Don't mind
Let's
me.
see what's been asked and try our best to answer them.
Right. Thank you, producer Sophie, for the questions. So I'm feeling rogue. I'm going to pitch these questions to you guys.
Okay.
Right. Was this a podium you guys would have expected to see at the start of season 10? Saunders.
For today?
For today.
So, okay, DaCosta, Hughes, Nato. DaCosta, I think, yeah, because that strength in Berlin was really, really strong. Hughes, I would always back him for a pole. But honestly, you know, I wasn't so sure with the level of talent and the caliber we have and the performances on display this season, whether he would have got it this season. Norman Nasso, I mean, complete fair play to you, Norman. I wouldn't have said you'd be on the podium this season with the likes of Cassidy and Evans and Jennings and everyone else.
I would have predicted a Jaguar TCS race winner, and I probably would have predicted a Porsche winner over the 2 races.
Yep.
Would I have predicted those drivers? Well, I guess with Jaguar, they're very evenly matched drivers, so yes, I would have probably thought Pascal might have won a race because until yesterday he hadn't been on the podium without winning a race this season. So yeah, I think McLaren's the outlier here, isn't it, really, because I didn't expect to see them win that race with Sam Bird back in Brazil, and they've really kicked on, and I've been very impressed. And also here, incredibly popular. Like, honestly, they can't do anything without getting mobbed by fans. The Chinese McLaren fan club are here, and there were some magical moments on the grid that I sort of saw, and there's been, you know, lovely artwork that some of the fans have made. And yeah, I think Sam and Jake and the rest of the team have been really welcomed here.
I do just find that with McLaren, that when they do well in other championships, it's just sort of a success that kind of grows throughout the business.
Yeah.
In other motorsports as well. So who knows what will happen at Indy 500
Big
or
day for
what
them
has
today.
happened
Yeah.
at Indy 500.
I was going to say, on the grid you had their fan club, and one was wearing an FE top, and one was wearing a Formula 1 top, and one was wearing an Extreme E top, and one was wearing an IndyCar
that's
top.
amazing.
Yeah,
Love
so
that.
they came prepared. They didn't
Yeah.
mess around. I love the McLaren fans.
Saunders,
Next
I'll
question.
chuck this one to you. Will Portland and London follow the same formula of what we had here, with one race being slightly longer than the other?
I mean, that's up to the FIA. I think Portland, yes. I'm not sure about London because London's a very, very different style of circuit. You know, it's a bit more traditional street circuit, so the energy targets are lower because there's heavy braking zones, there's much more region opportunities, whereas Portland is just so fast. Like the straights are huge, there's so many fast corners. You know, we saw loads of records being broken there last year in terms of speed and average lap pace. So I think yes for Portland. I'm really not sure about London yet. You have to ask the FIA.
Any ideas, guys? And Jonas,
Send them a tweet, they love it. At FIA, probably.
why is Envision so far behind Jaguar when you look at the comparison between Porsche and Andretti?
I think Nick Cassidy leaving is a huge thing because
Robin Fries is very talented, though.
Oh, they're all very talented drivers. They're all incredibly successful drivers as well. I'm actually the wrong person to ask this question to because our Stato here will probably know some data or he's heard some whispers. I would say Nick Cassidy, but yeah, you're right. Absolutely, they've got some really
Give me
good
the question
drivers.
one more time. I want to make sure I answer it perfectly.
Okay. Why is Envision so far behind Jaguar when you look at the comparison between Porsche and Andretti?
I think it's what we mentioned before. I think it's just the luck that Envision have had this season with having so many DNFs, so little running, that lack of data as well. I think, you know, sometimes when you get in a spiral of kind of disappointment, it can, as you build momentum when things are going well, you can do the opposite when things are going badly and just kind of keep having frustration after frustration. I also think being the manufacturer always gives you a bit of an edge in terms of the testing time, in terms of the resource you have available. Yes, they've bought the powertrain, but it doesn't necessarily mean they have the entire resource. So as an element of that. But also on the luck side and the momentum side, when you're doing well, that whole energy follows you around. That's what I believe anyway.
Also, I don't think Porsche and Andretti are necessarily that close. Jake's definitely had a few wins, but it's taken a lot of warming up for Norman to get there, and Norman isn't currently on the same level as Da Costa. So actually, there is definitely that disparity across the grid.
There's always an agreement between customer and manufacturer. And when I say agreement, it's like a minimum and maximum information share agreement. And sometimes it's quite easy to get pulled into the minimum if your rival manufacturer team or customer team start doing better than you. Let's just say that. But great questions. Thank you very much for sending them in. Just to kind of recap, we've had 2 excellent races here in Shanghai, being back in mainland China, the place where Formula E all began 10 years ago. And next up, we head to Portland for another doubleheader, with one more doubleheader following that in London. Things are getting really, really, really exciting. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for watching. Alexa, what is Season 10?
Season 10, it is on.
Welcome along, it's round 12 of the 2024 ABB FIA Formula E World Championship here in Shanghai. Who will be first in the Far East? Textbook start for Stoffel Van Dorn.
Let's close the gap, close the gap.
Whoa, that's an invoice on the camera.
Belt gave me a puncture. Let's spin to move forward.
Close quarters between the two. Oh, he just clattered into the side. What a fantastic, commanding, controlled drive from Antonio Felix da Costa. Victory here in Shanghai.
You want, baby?